So, all right, hello and welcome back to No More Shame. I'm very grateful to have a lifelong friend and a brother to me, Trevor Birmingham. I've known him since I was 7. Yeah, it's been almost 20 years since I've known Trevor. So I'm very excited to have him on and grateful that he was so willing to come talk about his story and experiences with us. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to him to introduce himself and share with us.
Okay. Hi everybody, my name is Trevor Birmingham. I've grown up in Utah my whole life and I come from a big family. I have 6 brothers, so there's 7 of us in total. Some other things about me, I've always loved sports and sports have been the biggest thing in my life, and I was in the choir in high school and that sort of thing, and I just, like trying new things. But a little bit more about my experience in my past and everything. And so when I was younger, my parents got divorced, and I was in 7th grade going into 8th grade when my parents got divorced. And I had a pretty happy childhood, from what I thought and everything. My childhood is all I knew. And I've always known that both my parents loved me. There was never a question that I know that my parents loved me and cared about me and all of that. But as I've gotten older, I realized that, there's some things in my childhood and my past that wasn't the healthiest and wasn't the best environment to be in. And I've always been a very emotional person. When I was younger, I just like simple things would make me cry, and I'd kind of react to these different things. And so emotions have always been a big part of my life, and it hasn't been until recently that I've been able to kind of understand my emotions and control my emotions. And I think that through my childhood, there was one of the biggest things, and I've always held myself back. There was with sports and other things, I would get very anxious, and I would, not go and do things that I knew would make me happy and good just because I had this anxiety. And playing football, and I wish I only played football my 7th grade year, and I wish I would have played it more because I love football and I felt like I could have been pretty good, but I just didn't always go. I didn't do it. And even when I would miss practices and stuff because I was just so anxious to go, even though when I got there and started, playing, I loved it. And just throughout my childhood and my parents' divorce, emotionally there was lots of cracks in my life. And through that all in high school and everything, those are some very hard years. I became very depressed, and I never had that really strong, emotional connection with anybody. And, I like I said before, I know my parents have always loved me, but I just think through, the divorce and some other things, it was just hard for me to really open up to anyone, and I was very closed off about, my emotions. And there was other times in high school too that I missed out on going to good things just because I felt like being sad wasn't my only option, and I just in a way being sad and just laying in my bed, that's kind of all I knew, and that was my comfort zone. That was my comfort place, and I felt like I was happy doing that, just being there, because I was in a safe place that really wasn't safe. I was in a part of seminary throughout my my high school years and junior high, and I was invited to sing at my seminary graduation, but I just last minute I canceled and didn't even go or anything, just because I don't know, I just didn't feel like I deserved it. I didn't feel like I was worth it or anything like that. And through this time, about 7th or 8th grade too, I was just trying to find something that could kind of fill the void that I had in my life, and just try to feel something good. And I one day it was just on the internet and stumbled upon pornography and started, watching that. And I felt like when I would watch it that it was one of the only places that I could go to escape and to, numb some of the depression and the darkness and the pain that I've felt throughout my life. And that was a really hard thing for me because I had all these, desires and I wanted to, be accepted and loved and all this, but I would always, turn to that just because I felt like there was nowhere else I could turn. And that was a really hard thing for me because I just, when I would watch it and I would just feel the light slowly just kind of leave me, and I'd feel empty after. And I just, everyone who knew me growing up, I would always have a smile on my face, and everyone knew that I was, everyone always thought I was always good because I was always smiling. And I've come to realize now that, I'd always smile as kind of a way. I never wanted anyone to know what was going on in my life and the hard things that were, I was going through. And that smile was like a mask that I would put on just so people, thought I was doing good. And, I've come to realize that, I was being fake and I wasn't being honest with myself. And there's a saying, you fake it till you make it. But, I feel like that was pretty damaging to me personally because I would always fake it, but sometimes, I didn't feel like I was going to there's a lot of darkness. And there's lots of suicidal thoughts in my life and just really feeling, like there's just no hope. But, through these experiences leading up to, my senior year in high school, and then after high school, I served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Tallahassee, Florida. And it was actually pretty awesome when I went and served my mission because that was the one time in my life up to that point where I wasn't depressed at all, and my anxiety, I was able to use it for good. And whenever I would feel it, the anxiety was because I was doing good things, and it was a little scary and I was out of my comfort zone, but it felt good. I wasn't debilitating anxiety. And I think that was because when I was a missionary for those 2 years, I was not focusing on myself and I was focusing on helping other people, whatever it may be, and I turning outward instead of inward. And so that was like my first taste of seeing what true happiness had in store. And I came home from my mission about 3 years ago, and through the first couple of years when I got home, I went through a lot of heartbreak and a lot of, sorrow just through dating and lots of things, and it was really tough for me just because I was still looking for that, emotional connection and approval from somebody else. And it really broke me down because when it wouldn't work, it hurt really, really bad. And I've come to realize that was, I wasn't emotionally strong, and so that caused me to be, depressed and anxious all the time and not reach out to people that could help me. And there was, lots of times where I just was very depressed and suicidal, and it's hard to be in that place and feeling like there is no light and just being surrounded by darkness. Yeah, and I have a picture that I took. It was August 2020, and it's just me in the mirror, just with my shirt off, and because I was thinking about getting into working out and doing some things, and I just wanted it, and the picture's just the saddest picture. You can just tell that there's no happiness there, and I'm just not a happy person. And I look at that picture now a lot as a reminder of where I was and where I am now. And just, to remind me that, life can be tough, but I'm nowhere near close to where I was then. And throughout all this time too, I would always try to turn towards God, and it was kind of more empty on my side because I thought I was turning towards God, but I really wasn't putting in the effort. It was kind of like I'd pray to Him, but I wasn't had my heart in it, and I wouldn't really act or try to change or do anything. But in September last year, in 2020, so throughout that year I had started reading different books, and I was enjoying learning and learning more about just whatever it was. I was trying to change the way I thought about life and everything, and trying to not just do what society had told me to do, and just because I feel like you can learn from so many different people and different things in life. And I came across an audiobook, and I was looking for a new one. I was, just really wanted to learn something good. And the book's name was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And it's also on the title says, like, defy the odds, conquer your mind, something along those lines. And so I was interested in it. I was like, that's a pretty good message. I would, that I feel like I could greatly benefit from that. And so as I started reading it, I had never been hit as hard as I was when I was listening to that book. His book's all about conquering your mind and becoming so much more than you are, and it all starts in your own mind. And the limitations and the hard things that happen in life, they're all in our own mind. Everyone's dealt different cards in life. Not everyone grows up poor and their parents are divorced, and some other people experience racism and people who are rude, and other people, they might come from a wealthy family, or have lots of good worldly circumstances and everything, but maybe their parents don't give them the attention that they need. And so we can never choose the cards that we're handed in life, but we can choose how we react to life, and we can choose to become better. And as I was listening to that book, David had a really rough childhood, an abusive father, really, really poor, experienced racism, really bad racism and all this, and he gained a lot of weight, and he was kind of just an exterminator for bugs and all this, and he just was doing his thing. And one day he heard on the TV there was an ad to join the Navy SEALs, and he saw that, and he's like, that would be pretty cool. Like, I think I'd like to do that. But he went to all these recruiters, and no one would give him the time of day, and no one would listen to him until one recruiter said, if you can lose, I can't remember the exact weight, but it was over 100 pounds in 3 months, then you can come to basic training and start doing all that. And he worked his butt off, and he had one person who believed in him, and he worked super hard, and he was able to lose the weight, and he was able to join the SEALs, to go towards basic training and everything. And yeah, so he went to basic training, and he's the first person who's ever gone through Hell Week 3 times. And Hell Week it is what it is. It's just hell, and it's horrible and all this. And through his experience, because he kept getting injured, but he didn't want to give up, so he kept pushing and pushing, and he joined this. He was able to join the Navy SEALs, and his book is just full of all sorts of experiences about how we set these limitations in our life, but we have these like a governor in our mind, like in a car. A governor limits how fast a car can go, and we set these own limitations in our own mind. And he talks about, he called it the 40% rule, and when you're doing something like physical or whatever it may be, that when you feel like giving up, you've only given 40%, and you can go so much further. And when I heard that, and it really hit me, it really touched me, and I was like, I have been living under my my potential and all these things. And so in his book, he runs a lot, and I've never been a really big runner, and a couple weeks before that, I went and ran a mile, and I struggled really bad. But after hearing that, I was like, I'm gonna go run 3 miles. And as I was running, and I changed my mindset about it. I was able to run 3 miles faster at a faster pace than that 1 mile pace, and I just started. I feel like finding myself as I started running more, and I was running on the treadmill, and I had a goal to do 6 miles. And after I hit 6 miles, I'm like, I can do a couple more. And so I ran 10 miles on the treadmill, further than I'd ever ran before. And I started taking care of myself after I listened to this book and his experiences, and I really changed my life. I started eating better, and I started working out and going to the gym and doing all these good things. I started going towards hard things. I started going towards anything that I feared in life. I started doing those things, and it taught me, because life is always going to be hard, no matter what. There's always going to be hard things in life. But I learned that if I go to the things that I fear, and I go to the hard things first, then when the hard things in life that I can't choose come into my life, I'll be able to better handle them. And through that, I started finding happiness, and I started becoming closer to God again. I feel like as I was pushing myself and seeking this discomfort, that I was able to draw closer and closer to God. And that was very important to me, and I feel like that was the biggest thing in my experience, is feeling God's love in my life. And even if you're not religious or anything, just having a sense of a higher power or something there makes a big difference. And then there's another man who his experience has also changed my life. It's a man his name is Wim Hof, and he's pretty big on the internet right now. He's known as the Iceman, and there's something he does called the Wim Hof method that he's experienced and he's come up with over the years. And so basically, Wim Hof he fell in love with this woman, and it was his soulmate, and became his wife and the mother of his children. And she very slowly started becoming distant from him, and she eventually committed suicide, and it shattered him. It shattered his life and everything, and he didn't know how to deal with it. But he started. He lives in Poland, and it gets very cold over there. And little by little throughout his life, he would go into the cold, and coldness is very uncomfortable. But he started going into the cold and staying in as long as he could, and going in icy water or whatever it was. And every time he got out, he felt amazing. He felt better. And through the Wim Hof method of doing cold therapy, so I do cold showers every day. I'll start my shower warm and then end cold for a couple minutes, and doing his deep breathing exercises, where basically you do like 30 deep breaths, like really deep breaths, and then you hold your breath as long as you can for a minute and a half, a minute, 2 minutes, however you can, and then you take one more breath for 10 seconds and hold, and then you can release, and you do that a couple times. Through doing those things, it's like a natural high, and it's helped me be able to kind of tap into myself and find myself, and help me deal with the depression and anxieties that I felt. There's a lot of anxiety that I still feel throughout my life, but I've found different tools in order to deal with them, and it's not nearly as bad as it was before. And everyone faces anxiety and depression to different levels, but I realized in my own life that anxiety and depression I was feeling was mostly self-inflicted, and I wasn't emotionally strong in where I needed to be, and I would hold in my emotions, and I wouldn't talk to people and share the things that I was going through. But even more recently, I've learned how to do that, and when hard things come, I'm able to get over them, and they don't affect me as bad because I'm able to process the emotions that I'm feeling. I'm able to talk to people, and I'm able to learn from them and grow from them. And that's the biggest thing is if we're not learning and growing through the hard things that we're going through, then those hard things, they weren't worth it. But hard things can be good, and that's what I've learned in my life is hard isn't bad. And as we continually push through these hard things and we turn to other people and turn to God, and we face our fears and turn to those fears, that we can invite light back into our life. And through all these experiences, I know that I can help other people, which that's probably the number one thing that helps me feel the happiest is when I am feeling depressed or having anxiety, is if I go and I'm with other people and I help other people, I can I feel happy. And the more experience you have in life, the more you have to offer. So.
Awesome. That was a great story. I appreciate you sharing that. I have to say, you're a great storyteller. It was very
Thank you.
With it.
Appreciate that.
Again, it was cool to hear your experience, especially from, as I said earlier, I've known you for almost 20 years, Trevor, and you were right when you said, I smile all the time. You were always happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is not anything I would have ever guessed. All the times that we had, family Christmas or all the things that we've done, I would have never guessed this. So it was interesting to hear, this side of you that I've never thought about or never, knew was going on. A question I had is, so after the divorce and you started to have these feelings, and before you found these ways to help better yourself, did you ever try talking to anybody about it at all? Or because you kind of mentioned that you were kind of kept more to yourself, so did you ever try reaching out or talking to anyone about it?
No, it's really been this past year that I've learned how to talk to people more about different, even good things that are happening in my life, just sharing the good with the bad and everything. I would always just bottle it in and just didn't want I didn't want to be a burden to anybody else, or but I've also learned that as much as I love to help other people, that when I share the things I'm going through and allow people to help me, it improves their life and helps them grow stronger. And so I've learned that I'm being selfish too, not just to myself but to other people, when I'm not sharing how I'm feeling and being completely honest about it and not being fake. And I've noticed in my life too, I'm not always just smiling all the time like I used to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I feel like it's because I'm not fake anymore, and I'm honest about who I am, and I'm content and happy even if I'm not smiling and showing that on my face.
Yeah, you're allowing yourself to be who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I like that a lot, because a lot of people smile, but what's really going on behind the smile,
Mm-hmm.
So you brought up religion and God a couple different times throughout this. Is that something you would say that was beneficial? From what I get, it was beneficial to you in your process of conquering this?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you would say?
Yeah, no, definitely. I have all of these things, all these tools that I've kind of learned on how to, fight anxiety and depression and things that I've gone through in my life. But God is what really brings it all together. It's what really gives it power.
Okay, so something that I really liked or found interesting about your situation is that you didn't, you did therapy, but it was more on your own, you found a type of therapy to go into rather than going to see a therapist.
Yeah.
So, I guess, doing it on your own, was that harder, or did it work? I mean, obviously it worked for you, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm trying to ask you. Do you
No, yeah. Well, when I was younger too, I I was get very angry. So my mom had taken me to like kind of like a therapist when I was younger. To
Okay.
talk about some things, just because I was pretty angry. Like I said, like my emotions were. I've always been very strong emotionally and everything. But I'd gone to a therapist, and I feel like that he taught me some good things like that would help me and everything. And you know, I there's times where I probably should have gone and gone to a professional therapist and stuff. I feel like that could have been a big benefit, but I also just being able to learn what things I could do personally that would help me the most was also very very beneficial. Like going to the gym and everything. I actually used to always be very anxious and had a lot of anxiety about going to the gym and lifting weights and stuff, just because I wasn't quite sure what to do, and I just didn't want to look stupid and all these things. But one of my good friends, I asked if I could go with him, and he kind of taught me some things, and I stepped out of my comfort zone with somebody else, and that helped me out a lot. And I do find a lot of therapy and relief and going to the gym and doing that sort of thing. But some people don't like to go and just lift weights for like physical activity, and
Yeah.
I try to switch it up and do other things. And running, I love to run because it was hard, and I just like I love the feeling of like pushing myself and like losing my breath and then getting it back again. It was just amazing to me because it was hard. And so I feel like, yeah, being able to kind of discover myself and discover the things that make me the happiest and help me deal with my my issues and my problems and the feelings that I feel was very beneficial. But I feel like it's kind of, you can kind of, anyone can do it in their own way, and that's that's a great thing. And just facing your fears and going to fear before it comes to you, and just stepping out of your comfort zone, just whatever that may be and however it may looks like. It's different for everyone, and I think that's great.
Yeah, finding what works best for you.
Yeah,
That's what you got to do.
yeah, and doing it with other, like I've learned there's a lot of power in not being alone and turning to other people, because in one of the books I read before, they talk about how one of the greatest like needs and wants that humans have is to be wanted and to be accepted and loved by somebody in some thing. That's why people, young kids will like join gangs and stuff when they're younger, because they don't get that love at home, and so they join a gang or something because they feel accepted. And that's probably the number one craving that humans have, more than the need for food, water, and shelter, is to be accepted and loved. And so finding people who you can go to and talk about your struggles, and people who will uplift you and validate you, and your emotions are real. And that's something I've learned too. Like society, especially for men, with your emotions and everything, they make you kind of feel like if you cry or you talk about these things, that you're not manly or anything, and that can be pretty damaging. But when you are, when you do those things and you allow people to help you and you turn to other people, you can make big headway in becoming happy.
Yeah, very true.
Mm-hmm.
So Trevor, the last question I ask everyone: what advice would you give to anyone who is going through the similar or the same situation that you have been through?
I would say just don't give up. Just in the moment, when you're really feeling the anxiety, the depression, whatever you feel and issues you go through, it feels so much bigger than it actually is. And all the pain and stuff you go through, it's real and it hurts. But I've also seen on the other side that the joy and happiness that you can feel is so much greater than the negative. So I would just say, keep trying and be consistent. I feel like consistency was a big thing in helping me. And it's not about all the big things that you do and all this and the big achievements, but it's about the little consistent things you can do every day to build good habits, so you can deal with the things you're going through, and to be positive. It might not be, I might not smile as much as I used to, but I am optimistic and positive, and I have, hope for the future. And I feel like hope, even if you are in darkness, if you have a little bit of hope and you can see, a little bit of light, then it goes a long way in helping you to slowly make your way out of it.
Yeah. I like that advice. Be consistent. Don't give up. So, Trevor, I really appreciate you coming out today, man. It's been good to see you again and catch up, but also great to hear your story. So thank you for your willingness to share it, not with me, but anyone else who watches. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching today. Appreciate anyone who is subscribed, who is continue to watch, and hope that you've learned something from Trevor's and any other story that you've come across. So thank you so much, and have a great day.